mention that UNCTAD is the focal point on consumer protection issues within the United Nations system and is the guardian of the United Nations guidelines for consumer protection. The United Nations Guidelines for Consumer Protection, last revised in 2015, contain a specific section on e-commerce and recommend that member states should work towards enhancing consumer confidence in e-commerce by the continued development of transparent and effective consumer protection policies, ensuring a level of protection that is not less than that afforded in other forms of commerce. This webinar is being organized in the framework of the UNCTAD Informal Group on Consumer Protection in E-commerce. This working group was convened as requested by the Intergovernmental Group of Experts on Consumer Protection Law and Policy back in 2017 to highlight best practices to facilitate information exchange and consultations. For the work program of this year, the working group decided to conduct 2 webinars and publishing 1 report or technical note before the next meeting of the 9th United Nations Conference on Competition and Consumer Protection that will take place from 7 to 11 July 2025 in the Palais des Nations in Geneva. Today's discussion will feed directly into a roundtable on safeguarding and empowering consumers in the age of artificial intelligence at the conference. I warmly invite you all to save the dates and join us in Geneva. Today, we have the opportunity to delve into a compelling and highly relevant subject, one that resonates not only with the topics of electronic commerce, consumer protection, and technology, but also attracts the attention of every internet user and consumer protection agency, and that is artificial intelligence. Our distinguished panel will showcase the diverse ways they have embraced AI within their enforcement frameworks, presenting the transformative changes and challenges they have adeptly navigated. I look forward to a dynamic and fruitful discussion, and I encourage you to participate and ask questions. I wish all of you a fruitful discussion, and once again, thank you so much to Valentina Rivas, Program Officer at the Competition and Consumer Policies Branch of UNCTAD, for convening, organizing, and also leading the informal working group on consumer protection and e-commerce. Christine, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Anna, and welcome to everybody. I'm simply going to be moderating today, but I just want to start with a few words, which is how delighted I am that we're having this meeting today. When I started working on, some of you may know about ENFTEC, enforcement technology, back in 2022, I had no idea that it would generate so much interest, and only a handful of consumer authorities were actually engaged in that field. And it's absolutely fantastic to see so many authorities on our panel today that are from a wide range of countries and regions, as well as so much attendance and interest. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to the 2 people who effectively have been leading that piece of work, which is a checklist on starting with AI and deploying AI in practice, to take the floor to tell you about their experience, wishes, and the work that has been carried out. I will be keeping everyone to time, so if I wave, you know, speakers, that you are about to go over. I'd be really grateful if everyone can keep to the timing, as we have loads of speakers today, and also would love to be able to take questions from the floor as well. But without further ado, I'll hand over to the first speaker for today, Emil. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Christina. Thank you, Valentina, and thank you, Arnaud. I'm very grateful I can complete this project. And thank you all for being here today. It's really great to see so much interest in the AI enforcement checklist and how AI can strengthen consumer protection. Well, we all know that AI is transforming how markets operate. It's obvious, creating both opportunities and challenges for enforcement agency. On the one hand, AI help us detect unfair practices, faster analyze vast amounts of data, and improve efficiency. On the other, we need to ensure transparency, fairness, and accountability so that AI-driven enforcement remains reliable, ethical, and aligned with consumer rights. And that is exactly why the AI enforcement checklist is being developed by the UNCTAD informal working group on e-commerce. And I have really the pleasure to call it this project. The aim of our checklist is to serve as a structured, practical guide to help agencies navigate the integration of AI from setting clear objectives and managing data responsibly, which is very important, to ensuring legal compliance and maintaining human oversight, which is even far more important. While still evolving, the checklist aims to provide a flexible framework that agency can adapt to their needs, ensuring AI is not just implemented, but used effectively and responsibly. At the same time, every agency journey with AI will be different, of course. There is no single blueprint. AI will be shaped by our priorities, challenges, and regulatory environment. What this checklist offers is not a rigid formula, but a rather flexible framework, a set of key principles that can help agencies find their own path while ensuring AI is integrated smoothly, efficiently, and in a harmony, I guess, with our existing procedures and systems. And this approach aligns with the broader global conversation on AI, where the focus is shifting from the fear and restriction to rather opportunity and implementation. As highlighted during the AI Summit, which was recently week ago in Paris, AI should be seen as a tool that offers real practical benefit. That is precisely what we are here to discuss, how AI can enhance enforcement, protect our consumers, and support agencies in integrating AI in a responsible way and effective way. Today's webinar will explore real-world applications and discuss best practices. Whether you are just starting to explore AI or already working with it, we hope this session will give you practical insight, useful strategies, and a better understanding of how AI can enhance enforcement work. So we hope that this webinar will also help us gather additional feedback so that we can make our AI checklist even better, as complete as possible, so that it can serve agencies as they begin their work with AI or think about further development in this area. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Emil. And it's now time to introduce you to the other co-lead of this project, and that's Maria Emma. Please, can you take the floor from the agency in El Salvador? Thank you.
Hi to everyone, and well, thank you for participating in this workshop. On behalf of Defensoría del Consumidor of El Salvador, we feel very fortunate to be participating in this project, as we are in the early stages of implementing an AI tool related to providing advice and answers to consumers in alternative dispute resolution stage, which is a very important pillar in the execution of our work. When the checklist was shared with us, we realized that we had unknowingly used steps described in it, and we are sure that in the following stages, the complete checklist will be very useful, as it allowed us to visualize essential elements to which we must pay attention in the execution of our project. I would also like to highlight that the white paper written by Poland, in which they shared their experience in implementing their AI tool, Arbus, enriched the experience of having a better understanding of the checklist. In this regard, we confirm once again that the exchange of experiences is a very valuable element in the path that all consumer protection agencies around the world are taking to fulfill our mission of guaranteeing a better life for our consumers. We invite you to join us in the activities that are part of this initiative, which has the potential to facilitate our work as consumer protection agencies. I also encourage you to promote and participate in these spaces that allow us to share experiences, since they allow us to glimpse other ways of approaching or resolving the obstacles that we face. So again, thanks for inviting us to be part of this project, and I hope that you enjoy that workshop.
Thank you, Emma. And we are going to start the webinar today by hearing from that Polish experience. So I will invite Agnieszka, who will be presenting on behalf of UOKiK Poland, the experience of the agency, and then we will move on with other agencies intervening and explaining and unpacking what main challenges they have faced or will be facing, so that we can have a plainer and rounder discussion. So without further ado, Agnieszka, this is your turn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with all of you today. And together with my colleague Agnieszka Szafran, I will present the tool that we developed in our office, the tool called Arbus, that identifies provisions in contract, in standard contract terms that might be abusive. We will share our reflections on the whole process, including making the decision, the way leading to the aim, and the main challenges related to that. As now we are working on the other AI-based tool, we'll also show some aspects of the process on the basis of our experiences coming from the new project tool. Next slide, please. First step to recognize the area in which institution needs to be supported. This is the first step of the whole journey. In our case, we first indicated a few areas and then chose one of them. It was very important to us to consider in which scope the use of the tool could give us relatively biggest benefits, saving time, reducing workload, and others, of course. And the second thing was to assess what our resources were, how big the effort of creating the tool would be, whether we could afford to engage some resources in a given time. Next slide, please. We thought that it would be reasonable to compare the scale of challenges, of costs, possible risks, and supposed benefits. It's not a secret that efforts at the beginning are huge, especially when you need to search for some resources outside the institution. It is also bigger when you don't have a former experience in similar projects. For example, you don't know the market. At stake, we have some benefits which could be reachable at the end of the process and in the future. The rational decision should take into account the comparison of costs or risks and benefits. And of course, benefits should dominate in long run. Next slide, please. As we are thinking about costs and resources, we divided them by the criterion of whether we have them in our disposal or not. I mean, internal and external ones. We summarized what we have, and we had to foresee what we would need in the future. Yeah. First of all, financial resources. It is good to specify what expenses you expect, what funds you have, and what possibilities to obtain external funds exist in a moment. Then we have material resources. We indicated what is needed to prepare the tool and then to ensure the work of it in the future. We considered how we could use the equipment we already had and what stuff, new stuff we need. And in this place, we smoothly move to human resources. Next slide, please. Because while working on such advanced tools, you need experts from various areas, sometimes also at the very preliminary stage. Because lawyers who will be end users can, of course, indicate the functionality they need in the work, but they might know how to achieve that, how it works. So you need qualified staff from such areas as IT, data analytics, also financial services, and others. And the key point in our project was the good communication between all involved parties, so that everyone knows his role, the aim and the principles of the tool. Also, of course, the right attitude to the change, open head, was something that was needed. And sometimes at this stage also trainings for staff is needed, because if people understand more, it is easier for them to communicate within the project team. Next slide, please. It's also about human resources, but in other aspect, because when we are thinking about people, we cannot omit end users, case handlers, because after all, they will use the tool, so it should be easy for them. It is also, in our opinion, very valuable if they understand to some extent how the tool works. It's because in our case, user not only receive data from the tool, but they also prepare their input. So they are, we can say, creators of the tool too. And for this purpose, we found it necessary to train people before starting using the tool. And it is also worth considering if the institution needs a manual, for example. We have such a one. Next slide, please. Yeah, having a good equipment and skilled staff is, of course, very, very important, but it is still not enough. What we still need is data, because data influences the correctness of training phase and the work of ready tool in the future. So data should be correct and high quality. In this moment, we can ask, what does it mean that data is high quality? It should be free from errors, diverse, complete, checked, and in sufficient quantity. In our case, data was checked, for example, by lawyers, and the sufficient quantity we reached by making input of all decisions, judgments, soft letters, and we used not only prohibited clauses but also the correct ones. Next slide, please. All those data should be properly structured, and we found it very useful to establish a form for data entry so that everyone makes it in the same manner. Yeah. Next slide, please. Crucial for the proper working of the tool is not only the possibility to provide new data from new cases, but also the possibility to change the data that we already have in the base, because it's necessary to change some parts because of the changing law, or because of the change of the decision, our decision by court. And so this is one thing. And the second, we ensure the good quality of the data by having special staff, administrators, who are responsible for checking data, improving them if needed. And of course, what is also very important is the security of the tool and its integrity. Next slide, please. While working on the tool, we handled lots of various legal and ethical issues. We had questions on how to organize the whole process, issues of ownership, copyright. It is especially important when you cooperate with external partners. And on the other hand, the mode of action of the tool should ensure that it gives reliable, legally compliant results, which are possible to verify. Next slide, please. And the last thing I would like to mention and to stress really hard is that no matter how advanced, reliable, and useful the tool is, it is always the human who is responsible for the case and the final decision. And the tool is only a support. This is all from me. Thank you very much. And further details will share with you my colleague Agnieszka Szafran.
Great, thank you so much, and thank you for being bang on the 10 minutes. That is fabulous. Thank you very much. And thanks for this really interesting background and presentation of how Poland approached the problem and some of the difficulties and how you solved them. So we're going to carry on exploring all of those themes by asking for our colleagues from Zambia now to take the floor and guide us through the major challenges that they have faced and more generally what might be the challenges for consumer agencies doing this. So Eunice, the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we have slides, but we do not have any sound. Oh, I think.
Okay, I forgot to unmute myself. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Christine.
Good afternoon, thank you. Are you having some problems?
I forgot to unmute myself. Apologies. Good afternoon, everyone.
So when you're ready, please go ahead.
Okay. Just 1 minute, Christine. Share. Okay, I'm trying to share the screen.
Valentina, would you be able to do the slides? We might be able to help you, Eunice, where Valentina would move the slides for you.
Sure.
Oh, sorry. Share.
Well, it was always going to happen in an AI themed webinar that we have problems with technology.
Here we go.
Here we go. So the slides are now on. So Eunice, the floor is yours.
Okay. Sorry, there's still. I'm still seeing 2 screens now. Just hold on, please. So I cancel this one. Okay. Just a minute. We can come this end.
Eunice, you can start when you want. I have the presentation here. Just let me know next, and I can pass the slide.
Yes. Okay, just 1 minute. I need to disable this sharing from my end so that I have a clear screen. Are you sharing for me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Just sit here. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. And thanks, UNCTAD, for having invited the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission from Zambia to join in this important discussion. I would like to quickly share on the major challenges that are faced by consumer protection agencies when starting or in the process to deploy AI. My slides are very few. You can go to the next slide, which is giving us the outline. Thank you. So I'll give a brief introduction, and obviously certain things have already been alluded to by Agnesia and now when he was giving an opening remarks. And then the role of AI in consumer protection enforcement. I'll quickly share if a few challenges. I know they're a number, but in the interest of time, I only talk about 3 and measures to curb the challenges. Then I will give just an example of what we plan to do as CCPC here in Zambia, and then I'll conclude. Next slide. So I just want to echo the fact that the rapid growth of e-commerce and digital transactions indeed presents new enforcement challenges for consumer protection agencies and regulators and competition. By the way, we deal with both competition and consumer protection in Zambia. So when it comes to the issues of fraudulent activities, we also look at misleading advertisements and anti-competitive behaviors that are becoming harder to be detected using the ordinary or traditional enforcement methods. So we have seen that indeed AI offers a transformative opportunity to enhance consumer protection agencies' enforcement capabilities, improving detection, monitoring, and responsive to digital market violations. We move to the next slide. So what is the role of AI in consumer protection enforcement? With the rise of digital marketplaces, mobile money services, and online transactions, there's need for agencies to evolve their enforcement strategies. AI can be supported or can support this by 1, identifying fraudulent e-commerce transactions, tracking misleading digital advertisements, detecting cartel activities and unfair pricing algorithms, monitoring digital financial services to prevent exploitative pricing and hidden fees. Next slide. So I would like to share only 3 key digital challenges that impact AI enforcement. Can you go back to the previous slide? You've skipped 1 slide. Thank you. So the first one is limited digital infrastructure. The second one is data availability and fragmentation. The third one is limited capacity of the regulators. So for the first one, which is limited digital infrastructure, I'd like to state that many e-commerce transactions occur informally through platforms like WhatsApp and Facebook Marketplace. This makes it difficult for us to collect data. And then there's also the aspect of low internet penetration rate and also the high data cost that limit enforcement effectiveness. The second aspect of data availability and fragmentation, I would like to state that consumer complaints, digital transactions, and pricing data are scattered across multiple platforms. The absence of a centralized digital consumer complaint system forces reliance on manual investigations. Then the third issue, please, next slide. The next slide. Regulatory capacity. Okay, thank you. So there's lack of in-house AI specialists and financial limitations in adopting AI-driven enforcement. We also note that AI requires a significant investment in training and infrastructure to enhance enforcement efforts. We note that AI is a very diverse field with developments and advances being made daily. Regulations, therefore, must be relevant and effective to capture possible infringements. AI skills and knowledge gap compromises the ability of effective regulation and enhancement of welfare. So what are the possible measures that we can use to curb these challenges? We can go to the next slide. Again, I'll just speak to the 3 that I've already spoken to. So to align with enforcement objectives, agencies must prioritize AI tools that address specific regulatory needs. So when you're looking at limited digital infrastructure, we also talk about the use of chatbots, which is used to automate consumer interactions and streamline complaint filing. There's also need to use digital forensic tools that can be used to detect fraudulent marketing and anti-competitive behaviors. Then we're also talking about data availability and fragmentation. Here we have the image recognition software that can be used to detect misleading advertisements, especially those with false health claims. Can move to the next slide. Next slide. Okay, thank you. So on the issue of regulatory capacity, we think it's important to start with a pilot or AI project before full-scale deployment. In Zambia, we have the Bank of Zambia, which uses sandboxes. And then we also believe that it's important to train enforcement officers to interpret AI-generated insights. There's also need to collaborate with universities and tech firms to develop AI solutions which are tailored to the agency's market. We also acknowledge that AI tools require continuous human oversight to ensure ethical enforcement. There's need for continuous capacity building for officers to equip them with the tools and expertise to remain relevant in their ability to efficiently interpret the results of AI systems. Next. So in the next slide, I'm going to just share with you two of the advances that the Commission has and plans to undertake. We have what is known as a case management system. This is a system that we're using to handle consumer complaints. So we have consumers that feed into the system, and the way it's working right now, it's a manual system in that a consumer will have to wait for feedback from the commission to be able to know exactly the status of the case. We also do not have a way of the system to be able to sort the type of complaints and give us any other intelligent information. So what we hope to do is to integrate this case management system with the chatbot so that it's able to quickly interact with the consumer. It should be able to quickly show the type of possible violation that could have been violated, and then also to quickly generate certain intelligent report or give us some quick information to be able to see exactly what's happening in the marketplace. So this is what we hope to do with the integration of the current system that we have, the case management system, and the chatbot. We're also hopeful that with this system being an AI system, it should be able to quickly give a consumer feedback, because it will be giving a case reference number, and then the consumer at any one point can quickly just interact with the system to find out the status of the case. Then the second tool that we are looking into, next slide. Next slide. Yes, thank you. It's a market surveillance tool. This is a tool the Commission aims to integrate again into its work. It will consist of training large language models to carry out tasks that are tailored to the Commission's work. And some of these are data analysis, price tracking, and cartel detection by identifying patterns of anti-competitive conduct. So again, we know that as a commission, this is something that we need to be careful as we are planning, because we know that a system is as good as the information that it has. And I know that the previous speaker spoke about the need to have data which is clean and there's need also for ethical conduct as we develop all these the systems. So we plan to make sure that we pull data from multiple sources and ensure that the data is cleaned up. So this is what we plan to do. And then as I conclude the next slide, I just want to say that artificial intelligence presents significant opportunities for strengthening consumer protection and indeed even competition enforcement. However, digital infrastructure, data management, AI expertise, and financial constraints remain key challenges. By adopting a structured approach to AI integration, investing in capacity building, and enhancing cross-sector collaboration, the agencies can harness AI's full potential to safeguard the broader digital economy. I'd like to end here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for a great roundup of what you're planning to do in Zambia. And it's great to see that there's a lot of work going on and some plans to really push how consumer enforcement can take place and can be streamlined. So without further ado, we're going to move on to our next speaker. We're going to hear about a different experience, different region. We are now going to Thailand, where I hope it's a better weather than in London, where I am, and it's all grey and raining. And we're gonna hear about your experience. So Dr. Wim, if you want to take the floor, this is now your turn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christine. I'd like to share my slide first here. Okay, I'd like to introduce myself first. My name is Wim from Office of the Consumer Protection Board, Thailand. And today I will be talking about AI technologies and consumer protection in e-commerce and how our agency, Office of the Consumer Protection Board, leverage AI to enhance enforcement efforts. I will discuss how we use AI for receiving and handling consumer complaints and detecting consumer fraud in advertisement. And I also cover key challenges and best practice in AI implementation. I'd like to share. Yes, AI is transforming e-commerce, but it also brings new challenges in consumer protection. Our agency has implemented AI in two key areas, just like the first is consumer complaint handling. We call this program OCPB Connect. I use AI to help us process complaints more efficiently. And the second is fraud detection in advertisement. We use AI to scan online ads to detect misleading or fraudulent claims. While AI is a powerful tool, it requires careful selection, integration, and oversight to be effective. Not all AI tools are created equal. Choosing the right solution is crucial. Key considerations include machine learning adapts over time, while rule-based systems follow strict guidelines, and AI tools should handle increasing complaint volumes. AI should work seamlessly with our existing enforcement system. In OCPB in our agency, we selected AI models that balance automation with human oversight. For this slide, I would like to share the challenges and preparation of our outfits. AI's effectiveness depends on data quality. If the input data is flawed, AI will make incorrect decisions. Challenges include incomplete data sets. Some consumer complaints lack of details, just like lack of information, lack of address, or some topics, some evidence, and making it hard for AI to analyze them. The second point is bias in data. If past enforcement focused on certain types of fraud, AI might overlook emerging threats. And the next is solutions involve. We need standardizing data formats to improve AI accuracy. And the last is how to collaborate with platform to access better training data. AI should not replace human enforcement features, but increase their work. AI assists by automating complaint triage, sorting, and prioritizing cases, detecting fraud patterns in real time, scanning thousands of online ads daily. In Thailand, we always surf on the internet, and it's around 1 million of ads in daily. So we cannot monitor all of the advertisement on the in the internet. So we have to use the AI to help us for scanning a lot of just like a mountain of online ads. And challenges are the staff feel that um, they do not sure what the process of AI, so they have to recheck to double check with the AI. So we have to spend more time. First, we send to AI process to scan in the first time, but second time we have to use our manpower to double check. And AI decisions, we concerned that it will align with the legal and ethical standard or not. Anyway, we can tackle these challenges through staff training and pilot programs before full implementation. I'd like to explain that we start the program of OCPP Connect, that we use AI to receive complaint and screen it and forward it to each person who got assigned to we call the in charge staff who responsible each case. And we used AI to screen to monitor the advertising in our system. But we have to test from time to time. We have to test it 2 years before we launch it. And for this, like AI tools are only as good as the people managing them. First, the official have to understand AI outputs and must interpret AI results correctly. I think it's very important, and have to supervise AI decision and to ensure that AI remains a decision support tool, not an automated enforcer. AI system handle sensitive consumer data, making cybersecurity a top priority. From our experience, the risks are included data breaches as hacker targeting consumer complaint database and AI model manipulation that fraudster trying to bypass AI detection. The things we have to do are strict data privacy compliance, aligning with PDPA law and other laws, regular security audit, and we have to focus on regular security audit, identifying vulnerability early. For the future outlook and next step for our agency. For the next step, sorry, I have to recheck it. Okay, it's complete. Since we implement our system, we think we cannot stop now. We have to develop it from time to time. AI has reduced complaint processing time by 60%, and it detects around 20% more fraudulent ads than manual reviews. Each case involves AI identifying misleading e-commerce ads faster than traditional methods. Anyway, what is the next step for us? Our agency focuses on how to expand AI capabilities by using predictive analytics to forecast emerging fraud trends, and we are trying to develop multilingual AI models for handling complaints in various language. Now we can use it only in Thai language. So we try to develop it for multilingual. And we hope to share AI best practice with other agencies, both domestic and international. And I'd like to summarize that AI is transforming consumer protection in commerce, choosing the right tool, data quality, and human oversight are key to success. And cybersecurity and privacy must always be priority. I think AI it's not a replacement but an enhancement to enforcement. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this fascinating presentation, and it's great to hear and see a little bit more about all the initiatives that are happening. We're going to carry on our tour of the world of consumer agencies, and we are going to now give the floor to Korea. The Republic of Korea, who also has some sharing on their work and the challenges in building AI-based knowledge platforms. So as you are ready, Ying Kim, please take the floor. Thank you.
Hello, Christine. Sure. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Okay, good evening, everyone, or good morning, or good afternoon. My name is Yoon Kyung-na, and I'm an assistant manager of international cooperation team at Korea Consumer Agency. Today, I'll be talking about the challenges we face while carrying out our AI deployment project, the AI-based knowledge platform to facilitate consumer complaint management and increase work efficiency. This is a 3-year project led by the digital strategies team, but I'll be introducing it on their behalf. I'll do my best to answer all the questions within my knowledge. If there are any questions I cannot answer today, please send them via email and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, so for the introduction, I would like to give you the background of this project. Specifically, what was the drive for us to deploy artificial intelligence in our work system and how we devised it. So there has been an increased demand for digitalization, and I try to categorize it into external and internal factors. So looking into the external factors, there was an effort to establish digital administrative infrastructure at government level. And for another reason more specific to our agency, we found that more and more consumers are choosing online interfaces over phone calls for counseling or applying for consumer redress. Now, looking into some of the internal factors, first, considerable number of incoming calls for consumer counseling were related to simple inquiries or information requests, but there was a lack of custom information that can be provided to consumers before they get connected with the counselors, leading to increased backlog of counseling cases. And collecting information and identity verification process were also time-consuming, resulting in low work efficiency and decrease in consumer satisfaction. And another issue was discrepancies between each agent's access to case data and knowledge, which caused fluctuation in service quality, and it was difficult to immediately address consumer complaints during phone calls. And lastly, there was an increased demand for automation of repetitive administrative tasks. Now, let me briefly introduce what composes the project. As I've mentioned, the full name for this project is AI-based knowledge platform to facilitate consumer complaint management and increase work efficiency. Here, the platform connects the entire system, including database, models, and tools that is designed to increase the speed and efficiency of consumer administration at KCA. There is so much detail to the project, but let me just briefly go through the main outcome as we only have 10 minutes today. As you can see on the slide, this is a 3-year project with 3 phases. In the first phase, we introduced online chat counseling service, established the foundation for knowledge collection and integrated ODR system. And in the second phase, we developed the chatbot system, established the knowledge database, and upgraded ODR system. And I would like to explain the third phase with more detail as it reflects the challenges we are currently facing. So during the third phase, we established an integrated knowledge management system that incorporates knowledge database from phase 2, important team documents, and information gathered through internal and external connections. We also structured framework for task automation. These include intelligent search engine called the Knowledge Find, and AI-based drafting system that generates the first draft of dispute settlement decision reports, and work guide bot that automates simple repetitive tasks and provides work guides and easier access to intranet menus. And lastly, consumer counseling team came in here and created 7,000 standard responses for the chatbot. I would like to share some of the examples of AI-based tools, and this is the Knowledge Find, and it looks similar to any other web browsers like Google or Edge. So if you click on our mascot in the lower right corner on this page, you will be directed to the work guide bot. So I've typed in here, please find information related to UNCTAD in the search box. And when I press enter, it provides some general information about UNCTAD and some internal documents related to our IGE meeting. And this is the work guide bot, and it provides most frequently used menus from the intranet. For example, the first option says, please request leave of absence. I tried using it, it was pretty convenient. Now let's move on to major challenges we faced and our efforts to address these challenges. I would first like to note that not all challenges that arise in one phase do not always end up with a clear solution in the next phase. There are definitely interrelated aspects between each phases. And in each phase, there has been attempts to address the challenges identified in the previous year, but they do not and cannot serve as the ultimate solution. So there will always be new areas for improvement, and many of these require an ongoing refinement. And I would love to go through the graph underneath, but due to the time restraint, I hope you could glance through. So here we can see that this chain of identified challenges and countermeasures continues throughout the 3-year project. Now, let me share some of the obstacles we faced and our efforts to tackle them. I've divided these challenges into technical issues and institutional or environmental issues. The first technical issue was AI hallucination, which is the most typically found problem with AI. When the training data is incomplete, biased, or defective, the large language model learns incorrect patterns and returns prediction errors. And this can be fixed through improving data bias, continuous testing and refinement of the system, and providing users feedback. The second issue is related to interoperability with the existing system. The automatic drafting solution relies upon the information received via SOBINet, which is an intranet for consumer complaint management. But not all necessary information to draft dispute settlement decision report is being entered into SOBINet, which leaves holes in the draft. So this needs fine-tuning between the existing system and the new drafting system based on the feedback from in-house lawyers and employees. We also face some difficulties in the process of composing standard responses for the chatbot. So right after online chat service was implemented in phase 1, consumer counseling team created 2,000 standard responses to be used by the counselors. But these responses did not align with the logic of the chatbot. So these initial responses are being used as reference among counselors, but they had to create another 7,000 responses during phase 3, and these are being uploaded to the knowledge database right now. Another problem with chatbot is that just like knowledge find, it may also return inaccurate responses. And for the countermeasure, it requires continuous update of the standard responses. In terms of institutional or environmental issues, the first has to do with private information. Since the knowledge find collects and learns personal information of employees, businesses, and consumers, it raised concerns about potential data leaks. So here's where the LLM comes in to identify personal information and go through anonymization and de-identification. And another issue was the difficulty in interdepartmental collaboration. So ideally, it would be best if the teams who actually handle consumer redress could review the standard responses for the chatbot, but it's not easy to ask for cooperation considering the amount of accumulated cases they have to handle. So as for the countermeasure, it's unlikely that chatbot will reduce the number of redress cases since it's designed for the initial stage of consumer counseling. So this needs alternative solution either to accelerate the speed of redress process or reduce the number of edge redress applications. Last but not the least, there is low awareness of AI-based tools among employees. As I said earlier, these tools need data with high level of quality and quantity, and also users' feedback to increase accuracy. But many of the employees are not familiar with these tools and choose to follow existing practices. So as a countermeasure, the work guide bot will be launched during the first half of the year, along with an introductory briefing on the AI-based tools. So going forward, what is going to happen next? The work guide bot is going through an internal vote for its name, which ends tomorrow. And once it gets a new name, it will be launched possibly between March and April with an introductory briefing of the tools. And the dispute settlement drafting tool is currently going through system improvement based on the feedback it received from the first demonstration. And there will be another test operation in March. And the chatbot is temporarily out of service for system improvement. But once all 7,000 standard responses are uploaded to the knowledge database, digital strategy team will go through another test operation to locate further areas to be fixed. And meanwhile, they are tentatively planning to draft a manual on knowledge management during the second half of the year. So this brings us to the end of my presentation. Please feel free to ask any questions. I have the entire team attending this webinar tonight, so I'm anticipating their help in case there's any question that I may not have immediate answer, or please direct any questions to these email addresses and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much for this presentation. Sorry. We are going to wrap up our speaker presentations by giving the floor back to Poland first to continue talking about their experience and perhaps react to some of the other experiences we heard. We also have a request to take the floor from the CMA in the UK, so we will go straight to them. But can I please invite, in the meantime, anyone from the floor who might want to ask a question to make themselves known in the chat so that Valentina can allocate in the most efficient manner the questions as we will have limited time. But without further ado, let's go back to Poland for a view of their system and their reaction, and then the CMA. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Christine, for giving me voice. And maybe I will start with a brief resuming, because previous speakers mentioned many interesting things and many great insights. And I think that we are facing with very similar problems, similar challenges, trying to deploy or implement AI solutions. For example, that AI is only a tool, not a replacement of the human being. I think we all can say that like that, taking into account current technology. So sharing our experience from maybe some practical aspects, we can say that our main challenge was to design and tailor appropriate solution to achieve our expected outcomes. So we as a public institution are obliged to outsource some tasks which we can't do alone. So we try to design this and cooperate. It was necessary to cooperation with other entrepreneurs. And I think it was successful. And designing the tool is always connected with designing some user-friendly product, and it should be intuitive and easy to use for the end users. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, that we always have to supervise our tool. So this is the similar situation with Arbus. So in the implementing phase, when it works for us, we need always control the results and assess currently if the tool functioning correct or not. So next slide, please. And in our second project, we try to create a tool to detecting and to detect and combat dark patterns on the internet. And there are some phases of this project. First, we searched internet and provided open source intelligence. Now we are trying to prepare databases like IT analysis of the source codes of websites and consumer survey. We try to get some knowledge in which way consumers make their decisions about shoppings, about purchase. And some we conducted also neuromarketing tests. Then we try to find out about some physiological reactions of the consumers looking for the products, looking for the dark patterns on the website. It was very insightful, and we get many precious information. And next slide, please. So our project is we try to prepare free databases and to find the best solution to create the best tool implementing AI. And main very big challenge for us is also problem of dark patterns and their dynamic nature, that it's not closed catalog, and then we always try to find if they are still on the website or not, if they are disappear. And also we try to review websites concerning changes in website according dark patterns. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. And we also analyzed website source code. And during this analysis, we encountered for some difficulty in verifying whether a dark pattern, when information given in a dark pattern is true or false. So, for example, when we see some social proof with the information that 18 users have purchased this product, we first of all, we need to check is it true or not, and this is enable we have to constant need and review this update this website in this point of view. Okay, next please. Next slide, please. And I think now we are trying to check if the GPT chatbot is a good tool to trying to find out and recognize dark patterns. Some encountered difficulties we met. It's like that we try to give them some print screens to the chatbot, to the GPT, and try to teach it to recognize that this is an example of dark patterns and try to find some dark patterns on the website. And this is ongoing. This is ongoing analysis. So the report is in preparing. So maybe we can share some experiences in the next phase. So, next slide, please. And another important factor is also interdisciplinary approach, cooperating with psychologists and cooperating with IT specialists is very crucial to preparing some tool, some databases which are crucial for creating effective tool. So thank you for your attention. And some challenges for a future. I think the most important is designing and tailoring appropriate technical solution, and cooperation with other specialists from many fields. And also we should ensure monitoring and update of the tool which we have, which we create for effective detection of dark patterns on the internet and abusive clauses. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for this and a bit more details about your experience. Could I invite the CMA to speak from the floor, please?
Thank you. So what I wanted to talk about today was we've been looking at potential uses of AI solutions for well over a year now, and there are sort of three areas I think it'd be good to touch upon. So first of all, potential categories of use cases that we've identified. Then second, a sort of very brief example of where we're using AI, and then thirdly, a few lessons that we've learned from the work. So sort of potential use cases, sort of I think about this in sort of three different categories. So we've got sort of search and detection, so things like looking through lots and lots of text documents for ideas or concepts. So that could be collusion, for example. Second area is sort of prediction and classification, which is sort of more traditional things, so classifying documents as high or low risk. And then finally, the area that I think I want to talk about a bit more is insights and analysis, so summarizing documents, context or instruction-based analysis of documents, and then finally sort of identifying themes, trends, possible issues over lots of documents. So just a brief example of that sort of final category, which really relates to lead generation, because I think, like a lot of other people have identified today, there are changes in the way that consumers are actually sort of interacting with, well, not with just us, but generally making complaints. So people, particularly younger people, are using social media rather than sort of formal advice processes that used to happen in the past. And that's caused us issues because we aren't sort of we're looking at the older forms, and we need to sort of be looking at sort of social media, which is very large volumes of data. So we're sort of using AI to sort of filter messages that are complaints that we might want to think about, and then pulling out the key bits of information for us. So which companies are they talking about? What sectors are involved? And the real value of AI that we found is that we can really do that at scale. And then analysis can quickly highlight, the companies receiving the most complaints, if there are changing numbers of complaints, what's happening over time, should we be looking at certain sectors, that sort of thing. And that can be really useful for sort of intelligence teams. And then finally, just sort of to touch upon sort of what we've learned, sort of our experiences of deploying these sort of tools. So I think a lot of people have already mentioned lots of the areas that I would have mentioned. So, we need to work collaboratively in very multidisciplinary teams in order to get the best success. So not just tech expertise, but domain expertise, legal, lawyers, and that sort of thing. I also just want to mention a key point, I think, for us that we can really, it's quite easy to forget, is AI the best solution? Are there simpler methods? We shouldn't be deploying AI just because it's kind of cool, but because it is the best solution for this. There might be a much simpler way of doing it. Solutions don't need to be perfect in order to add a lot of value for our sort of intelligence teams. Solving 90% of the problem really can make a huge difference to the teams concerned, even if it's not absolutely perfect. And then all the issues that everyone's mentioned about data, so I'm not going to repeat it. And then just finally sort of evaluating the impact of our work allows us to sort of continuously learn, iterate with those teams that we're working with, and more generally. I think that's the end of what I wanted to say today. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, and adding another dimension and some other experiences. So Valentina, you've been monitoring the chat. Is there any big questions that we need to put forward first?
Yes, thank you very much, Christine, and thank you very much to all the speakers. I have here questions to Korea, which are quite straightforward. So to the Korean team, can you please elaborate more on the dispute settlement drafting tool? And then another one, that it was, what do you mean by consumer counseling, Mrs. Na? I have done another. Yes. Yes, you go, please.
Okay. So this dispute settlement drafting tool, dispute settlement dispute settlement decision reports are written after the Dispute Settlement Commission has decided on a case. And these reports follow similar format. For example, they explain the case, the problem, each party's defenses, and the decision of the commission. So this is the kind of document that can be somewhat standardized, at least for the first draft. So the automatic drafting tool will take some important information from Sobinet, which is, like I explained earlier, which is an intranet for consumer complaint management, and fill in these information into corresponding place on the report template, I could say. That's a summary of the drafting tool. And the other question was about what is consumer counseling. So when consumers reach us, they will be first directed to counseling, where the agents will give them advice based on relevant laws and dispute settlement standards, how they can solve their problems. So basically, the agents are giving them options they can choose and how they can apply for consumer redress, and explain the following steps. So consumer counseling is basically the initial stage for consumers who are seeking advice on their problem.
Thank you very much. I have another question here that is most open for all consumer protection agencies, and it comes from Juan Carlos Izaguirre. several financial sector authorities are also taking efforts to introduce AI in their operations, including chatbots, fraud detection tools, etc. I wonder if any agency presenting today has engaged with other authorities to leverage efforts on address common challenges. Maybe Korea has experience. Unfortunately, with Thailand, she needed to go, but this is mostly regarding interagency cooperation in the national level. Maybe Christine, you know of any experience?
Yeah. So I think some age when we did the ENFTEC report, what we found is it was not necessarily with financial services, but authorities that had responsibility for competition and consumer protection tended to, at the time, be more advanced, mostly because AI tools had been deployed and technology had been deployed a little bit more to detect cartels and that kind of stuff. So we had found that those agencies were better equipped because of that. We called it cross-fertilization. At the time when we looked at it as well with Liz, we found that, yeah, financial services tended to be regulated in another agency, but indeed they were much more advanced, and actually RegTech, which is regulatory technology, it was originating in financial services. So I think from what I've observed, cross-fertilization is useful, and it certainly was useful to start with. It's also very useful in the financial sector. In most countries that I come across, companies would normally have an obligation to report a lot of their activities. So actually, financial authorities tend to have a lot better data sets to use to start with AI, whereas consumer authorities, some of them don't even take complaints from consumers. So that was a huge difficulty, creating the data sets and making that a first step. So I hope that gives a little flavor of the field and experience. There was also some questions to Poland, I think.
Yes. How many different dark patterns does the Polish system currently cover? I agree with the difficulty of analysis, even at the policy level, due to the lack of settled typology. And Agnieszka, could you share more information on the project of detecting that dark patterns, reports, webpage, etc.?
Of course. Currently, we tested our chat. We tested chat, we chose several type of dark patterns. We tested on it with it. So we chose 7, like for example, false social proof, false countdown timers, preselection, other interface interferences, low in stock, and urgency. So these are the dark patterns we try to teach the chat to recognize them. And it was quite effective.
Thank you very much, Agnieszka.
I spotted a question which sorry, Valentina.
Add, please.
Okay. Yeah, I spotted a question that I think would probably be helpful to address, although I'm not sure whether we will have an answer. The question concerns Africa, so I wondered whether our Zambian colleagues might be able to comment to that. And the question is by Solomon. Considering the high cost and poor internet infrastructures in many African countries, what is this project's plan to work with internet service provider, especially in Africa, to ensure availability, accessibility, efficient and cost-effective internet data for businesses leveraging AI to upscale their e-commerce and other businesses? I think the question relates to businesses being able to use it, but I think we can frame the question as how are the agencies in Africa going to be able to use the technology if there's poor access to it?
Thank you so much, Christine. A colleague of mine, George, on the call. George, would you like to attempt to respond to Solomon?
Hello?
Yes, George,
Hello,
we can hear you.
all right, then, thank you.
You
So,
can go ahead.
yes, so indeed, in Zambia, if you paid attention to the presentation as it was starting, we did highlight to say that one of the key challenges that we face is low internet penetration, as well as the high costs that are related with the high costs that are related to internet and the poor challenges in place. Even as we have these challenges in place, we still feel that if we were to implement the right AI tools, then we'll be able to address some of the enforcement challenges that we have. See, when you look at the Zambian setup, and the idea of having artificial intelligence come on board, it is no secret to anyone to say that we do have core internet challenges. But then, if maybe the tool is fed just with the right data, because your AI tool is as efficient, is only as good as the data that you provide it. So even as much as the internet might be poor, but as long as the data that we're feeding into the tool is actually accurate and properly done clean, then the results would actually be effective as possible. And then to answer the question, if there are any collaborations with any businesses, or if there are any collaborations with any businesses or other internet providers, I think on that one, we may need to get back to you, but as it stands, we do not have any standing collaborations with businesses.
Thank you, George. Back to you, Christine.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful. I think we are probably more or less at the end of our webinar, if I am not mistaken. Once again, it's absolutely flown. The time just disappears. I wondered whether Emil and Emma might want to take a few minutes to reflect on what they heard today, to close before we actually officially say goodbye to everybody.
Well, if I may, I think we heard a lot of great insights about how AI can be used. And for me, I got a lot of insight that I can integrate into our checklist and revise it for right now. And what I believe that we do face a lot of challenges right now, and AI can help us face them. And truly, it's most like we have to imagine and think about how can we use AI to face them. I mean, it's all about understanding the tool and all about the imagination. How can we use it? I mean, lot of insights we got here today. It's great and probably could help us and help a lot of other agencies to improve their work with AI.
Emma?
Hi. As for us in El Salvador, the interventions were very helpful, especially when addressing that the tools that we developed in each country should cater to the market needs and to our needs specifically. And also getting to know the experiences of everyone has been very helpful, and getting to know the tools and what type of issue you are tackling with the tools has also been very helpful. And the disposition and like the way that all of you have been sharing your contacts and everything, so that maybe everyone can email you or ask to know about your tool or hold meetings that may help us in the development of the tools, that and also will highlighting the fact that the tools should be user friendly for our specialists in order to facilitate our job. So we do appreciate all of the interventions. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much. All that's left for me to do today is to thank Emil, Emma, and Valentina for putting this webinar together and going through most of the work that needed to be done, so that we had a great panel of speakers and we could hear from a range of experiences. This webinar was part of a series that we started last year already. We've already had 2 webinars on AI. So if you hadn't attended them and you want to catch up on the progress that the working group has done through that journey, please go on our web pages and actually watch I think there's the YouTube also recordings of those events, so you'll be able to catch up on all of the activities. You've obviously understood that part of the working group work this year is to try and create this checklist. It will, of course, be refined. The first draft will be refined in light of the discussions today, but the checklist in the draft form will obviously go to the working group to have a look and comment further. So please make sure that when that opportunity comes, you are able to share more of your experiences or comments and advice, and perhaps also lessons that you have learned in the process. But in the meantime, thank you very much to all of our presenters as well for giving up their time today and sharing their great experiences. And until next time, and unless Valentina, do you have something to add? That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Christina, and thanks to all our speakers. The presentations are going to be in our event page, but I will also make sure that you receive them through a link on WeTransfer. And the same with the recording. We are going to do our best to put it online. In case we cannot, we will make sure that you receive it also in our WeTransfer link. So thank you very much, and keep tuned for our next webinars. And you are welcome, as Arnau said at the very beginning, to join us in the United Nations Review Conference on Competition and Consumer Protection this July in Geneva. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you very much.